Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Nolting, and this is a PowerPoint presentation. It's a bibliotherapy activity option for a text to utilize in a therapy session or a counseling session if your pathway is school counseling. So the book that I chose is called The Bad Seed. This is written by Jory John and illustrations by Pete Oswald. This book was published in 2019. It's a children's picture book. So The Bad Seed is about a sunflower who has gone through some traumatic events, which has created some feelings of anger and hostility. Okay, so the seed has gone through something bad and it's created him to feel angry, and then you see him throughout the book making poor decisions that are in school and outside of school. And then towards the end of the book, the bad seed gets tired of making those poor choices, and he decides to make a decision to make some changes and become a good seed. Okay, so he is aware of those bad choices. It shows him taking ownership of those bad choices, and then he chooses to become a good seed, and you can infer in that text that he just gets tired of feeling bad all the time and angry. So the bad seed begins as a good sunflower seed at the beginning of the book, and after he falls off of his sunflower to the ground, he's scooped up with many other seeds, and he joins those seeds into a bag of sunflower seeds. And the next few pages goes over how that bag is sold, and the man that buys it chews up a lot of the seeds and spits them out, and he happens to be one that gets spit out and falls to the ground. And because of that trauma that is represented from that, there's a change in him. So you can see that on this first page. It says, when I woke up, it was dark outside. It's hard to read there. A wad of gum had softened my fall. I felt okay, but something had changed in me. I'd become a different seed entirely. I'd become a bad seed. So this is a good representation for kids that have gone through a traumatic event and the shift or the change that happens inside of them due to that traumatic event. So throughout the book, you kind of see the seed making bad choices in and out of school, experiencing that anger and hostility, and it also creates some animosity amongst his peers, and just in and out of school, the repercussions of that anger. So you can see here it says, I cut in line every time, and I lie about pointless stuff. So the client or student can have that text connection to the seed and their poor choices after the trauma has incurred, as well as what's that trauma provoked the anger and creating the poor decisions that he makes. So I decided that this book would probably be appropriate for all sorts of different types of settings in a counseling session. You could use this in a guidance lesson, with an entire class. You could use this in a small group setting or one-on-one. So students that have gone through trauma could connect to the bad seed and the transformation that happens through trauma and the feelings that they struggle with internally. So they may have a text connection with that. This book can also serve kind of as an inspiration for students when they're trying to learn coping strategies when they are dealing with some emotions that they can't figure out how to control. So the Bad Seed book could be used with those students who need, just like maybe they haven't been through trauma, but they just need help with some social skills and exploring those feelings and how to deal with peers in a positive way. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a picture book, and I think it would be best used obviously with the elementary age kiddo, but I do think that even an older elementary age, I used to teach 5th grade, and even 5th graders love to be read to. So, even though this kind of looks like a younger book, I think some older kids, especially if you were meeting with, a small group or one-on-one, they would be able to connect with this. So I wouldn't tell somebody to not use this book on upper elementary, but I do think it's an elementary book. So on this page, as we see the story progress, we see the bad seed making a decision to change those behaviors. So there's a shift in his thinking here that is good to point out and to talk about. And that shift, let's see, he shifts to struggle, he's struggling with those behaviors and those feelings. And so on the top portion here it says, let's see if I can make that bigger so I can read that a little bit. Until recently, I've made a big decision. I decided I don't want to be a bad seed anymore. I'm ready to be happy. It's hard to be good when you're so used to being bad, but I'm trying, and I think that bottom line says something along the lines of I'm taking it one day at a time. So you kind of see there where he makes the choice to change those behaviors and recognize those behaviors, which is important, and makes an attempt to heal there. And then the bottom page talks about how it's difficult, the difficulties of changing those behaviors. It's a challenge, and that it's a work in progress. It's not where it's a magic wand and all of a sudden those behaviors just go away. But he's working at it, and he is feeling happier because of it. So I think those are great connections for kids that, need to recognize those behaviors, maybe recognize the trauma that's caused some of that anger and hostility or, various emotions inside of them, and they want to make those changes. I think this would be a great book to begin a session with, because that way that you could target some of those behaviors that are creating a problem at school or within the student or the child, and then maybe involve some goal setting there to solve those problems, allowing the students to reflect along that journey about the transformation that occurs and, the struggles along the way, kind of like the bad seed says at that bottom page about it's a challenge and it's a daily, something they have to work on daily, and they keep trying. My theoretical approach is CBT, so that journaling and reflecting is really important, and it's very student-centered, student-led, where they're kind of realizing that journey along the way as I facilitate. So I also like that the end, you notice in this middle picture here between the two kids, they talk about, well, there goes the bad seed, and another seed says, actually, that seed is not bad anymore. And so an additional activity would be to talk about the impact of changing those poor behaviors or difficult emotions with the student or client, and how it impacts others and how they feel at school, how they're getting along with others. So that would be a great activity or focus for an additional session. And then I also think on one of these pages here, it talks about maybe I'm not a bad seed after all, maybe I'm a good seed. So positive, like words of affirmation or positive self-talk would be something maybe to target when a student has been in trouble a lot and they just kind of get labeled as the bad kid or the kid who doesn't do a good job, you know, following directions, or they're causing problems. Sometimes they take ownership of that bad label. And I think it's good, maybe a good activity for students struggling with this when we're utilizing this book to talk about how they can speak positive words into themselves and know that they are capable of those changes. So I think that could be a really great activity to do with a student with this as well. And that is just my reference. The book is called The Bad Seed, and that is the bibliotherapy activity that I chose. I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you.